One of the biggest problems that I see in the job market today isn't what you think it is. It has everything to do with job seekers. And again, not what you think it is. It's due to a system that's really quite unfair in how it has treated people for years, if not ever since the formation of our school system. And it was exacerbated by things like No Child Left Behind, which meant really well, had great intentions, but it caused a lot of problems, caused K through 12, every single grade to kick the can down the road and make it harder for the next phase. So elementary schools did this to middle schools to high schools have done it to higher education, and some higher education has done it to employers, and employers have said, no, we're not going to deal with this. But now employers are saying, just like higher ed did and high school did and middle school did and then elementary did, that, oh gosh, this is what we've been given. We can't just keep firing people. We can't just keep saying, here's the standard, meet it or don't. That needs to start not as an adult, it needs to start at the child level. So I think to fix this, we need to go back to, sorry, there's the standard. We are not just advancing you to the next grade because that's going to hurt the next grade and the next one and the next one and the next one. We need to start imposing standards. We need to start requiring and adhering to those standards. Otherwise, this is just going to get worse. We have this huge sense of entitlement that has been caused by the system where job seekers think, okay, great, I've attained a certain level. And because I am a senior, now I get to have this certain level of respect from everybody younger than me. And so when you're in middle school, you feel better than all the elementary school kids. When you're in high school, you feel better than all of the elementary and the middle school kids. College, you finally feel like you're an adult and that, wow, you're no longer a high school student. You've arrived in a way. And as you get progressively older, that doesn't necessarily go away. But I'd like to think that people are capable of feeling less of a sense of entitlement, and that is what this has caused. So, case in point, on the professor side, I finished last semester and got a negative comment that caused a lot of reflection, and it all came down to I had a sophomore student helping me with some grading. Now, for context, I teach the senior level capstone course. And so you're going to hear that and say, okay, sophomore helping grade senior level stuff, that sounds fair. And if that were the only bit of context, I would totally agree. It would be weird. However, it doesn't recognize the fact that people have different abilities, and it relies on this sense of entitlement that people have had. It makes the same false assumption that the school systems have come to make, which is that this person who has now progressed in age and nothing more to the next level deserves to be put forward just because they have reached that certain age. So for the senior who had an issue with the sophomore grading, I would get it if it were just within that system. However, there's no question as to whether the sophomore student is smarter than the senior student. And knowing the sophomore student who's helping me, my employee, I'm guessing he probably is significantly smarter than this person who left the comments. I don't know, but I do know that he has very high abilities. But still beyond that, it also fails in one other aspect. It doesn't recognize the fact I didn't have this sophomore helping me with any assignment that required subject matter expertise. I did that. So it's my fault for not communicating it in that regard. However, I think if instead of assuming that, okay, I've reached this level, this age, so I must have these certain abilities, if instead we went back to the beauty of more of a journeyman system and said that your status isn't given, it's earned. You have to earn the right through being able to speak well, through being able to articulate your ideas, formulate your ideas, and defend them, and to actually walk the walk too, to be able to do what you say you can do. Without that kind of a system, I think interactions like this are forever doomed, and that our job market is going to continue to suffer as a result because there's nowhere else other than unemployment lines to kick the can down the road. What do you think?